Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome to East Bay Insiders TV. I'm Steve Tavares. So we're gonna have a little civics lesson today on the show. So what does California State Treasurer actually do?
Well, she
What
does
is
a lot.
Oh,
I'd like to say she's like the state's chief investment officer.
but first we got to know who you. Everybody should know who you are. But it's
I'm
our
Libby
former.
Schaaf. I am the recovering mayor of Oakland, California, and I am a candidate for California treasurer.
Yeah, so that's why you're here on the show, Madam Mayor. You're still, and I would say, everybody's still when you're the president, you're still Mr. President, not yet Madam President, but one day, but you're still Madam Mayor to us. So yeah, so let's start. Let's talk about state. What does that do, and why do you want this job, and how are you hanging out with Steve Kerr? Did you give him any lessons on the or any ideas for the next season?
Well, actually, he gave me a little coaching on anger management because we were talking about dealing with the current administration and some of the things that are happening in Washington, D.C. And I was talking about my desire to keep calm and how does he do it? And he clearly infuses a little bit of sarcasm and sense of humor. And he talked about Draymond and giving like these crazy shots. And that was his MO. So I got a little coaching from the GOAT coach.
Yeah.
And that is Steve Kerr. It's pretty cool that someone like him is endorsing me for state treasurer. And it's a testament that, Stephen, no matter what the job does, when you're a leader, you should never limit yourself to the actual tasks of the job. We all have an obligation in this moment to be leaders. And that's whether it's part of our jobs or not. And California definitely is at a moment where people are losing trust in their government. They're not feeling a sense of value when they write that tax check. And, one of my great passions is to make government a little less irritating. That's really, I think, the primary experience that people have with government these days. I'd like to change that. Now, the treasurer does a lot of things that could change that. The treasurer plays a huge role in financing affordable housing. And I don't know if you've noticed, we have a housing crisis here in California. So I want to use the powers and the influence of the office to double how much housing we are financing through the state every year, because we have got to catch up and build. The second thing that the treasurer does that I'm really passionate about is the treasurer, again, does these bond issuances, helps finance these kind of big ticket items. And I also am very passionate about addressing climate change. And there is infrastructure that this state needs to build to be more resilient and to have, a prosperous, sustainable, and not burning up future. And then I don't need to tell you that I am so passionate about the Oakland Promise. It's something that I loved doing while I was the mayor. And the treasurer of California runs several savings programs that I don't think the average person even knows about. One is Cal Savers, that allows you to have a retirement savings plan if your employer doesn't. And it even allows using some of that savings for payment towards your first time home. And then my big passion is Cal Kids and the HOPE program. And these are early wealth building programs, very much like the Oakland Promise. They could be like the Oakland Promise in their impact, because the state of California, talk about a wise investment, has actually stood up the largest college savings program in the country. There are roughly 5 million kids that have a savings account set up for them right now to go to college, trade school, community college, whatever education is going to get you to your dream. California is going to help you pay for it, but almost nobody knows about it.
Yeah, so I've been tracking the it takes money to run. It takes a lot of money to run statewide. So I have been noticing, keeping track of the campaign finance. And you're doing pretty well so far. And that's that's not just about the money. It's also, I always say, it's about support. So that's something you show that people are paying attention, because they don't give money if they're not buying into the candidate. But you said you were recovering mayor. and you famously you were talked about hella loving Oakland. So how do you think, how's everything looking so far in your hometown? And maybe you can talk a little bit about something that we talked about a couple weeks ago here, the push for charter reform in Oakland. What do you think about? What do you think about the town and this idea for a charter amendment?
Well, Stephen, I want to go to Sacramento, but you will never take the Oakland out of this girl. I mean,
That's true. I agree. Never.
That is like what motivates me, my love of the city and its values, what the city stands for. That is absolutely what I'm bringing up to the Capitol. And, a little bit of Oakland scrappiness.
Yeah.
So the town is recovering. I think the town is feeling much more hopeful with Barbara Lee in that mayor's office. I know I do. And while, she's clearly where she should be in this point, where she's like on her listening tour, she's convening people, and she's really leaning in to that convening power. But, we're all waiting to see what's the plan. And that will bring me to the charter change. Like, I love Steve Falk. I have so much respect for this man. But there's some things I agree with him on as far as the direction he's going, and there's some things that I don't. One thing we both agree on is that the current system is dysfunctional and it needs to be changed. And I believe that what he's talking about, really going back to a city manager form of government, would be an improvement over what we have now. Now, I happen to disagree that is the optimum improvement. Spurs spent like 2 years doing a community input process. And they really came up with the conclusion that Oakland needs a strong mayor government. And I think just on a realistic political level, I don't think Oaklanders are going to vote to take their voice away. They've had the opportunity twice they have voted for a strong mayor form of government over the city manager form of government. Twice they have voted to keep a directly elected city attorney whose client, first and foremost, is the people, not the politicians. And so I'm very skeptical that Oaklanders are going to buy all of his, very compelling arguments. And let me just on a practical level tell you also why I don't think that going back to the city manager form of government will be better for Oaklanders. Oakland already has 8 people who are passing policies, writing policies, passing policies, they're legislators. I think Oaklanders deserve one elected official that they elect, who they are watching, and believe me, when you're the mayor, you get watched every day, that is actually focusing on implementation. Jennifer Polka, the author of Recoding America, kind of a goddess of improving the capacity of government, has a great quote. She says, "Government doesn't need any new ideas. It needs the capacity to implement the ones it already has." And that's where I think Oakland does not need, a 9th legislature, a 9th person who's on that city council. Oakland needs an elected official who is every day trying to implement things. Now, I'll give you examples. When I was the mayor, because I wasn't on the council, I was working on implementing ceasefire. And what did we get? The longest sustained period of reduced gun violence in Oakland's entire history. I was putting together a housing cabinet that produced this 17K plan, which we accomplished because every day I was looking to implement the laws that were passed, implement the plan, implement the administrative work that got us to the biggest housing boom Oakland has seen since the 1906 earthquake. And I'm reading a book right now by Strong Towns. It mentions Oakland twice as an example of a city nationally that because we were able to build so much housing, rents actually stabilized and actually went down. And so I couldn't have done all that work if I was just another member of the city council. And I think Oaklanders, they want an implementer in chief. We have enough laws, we have enough policies. Where we're failing is implementation.
I just want to end on, I've said already, we already talked about it. You love Oakland. I love Oakland. A lot of people love Oakland, and a lot of people, not from Oakland, it hurts them. It really does. That they may not live there, but they want Oakland to thrive, and they have memories of going to Oakland, so on and so forth. It's gotta hurt to see some of the news that we've seen with the former Mayor Sheng Thao. Do you have what's your thoughts on just the impact that does on the city and belief in government? All allegations, of course, but that is they're in an indictment. All these alleged activities.
So disappointing. We're already struggling, and I always say Oakland, in some ways, like we're a feisty city. We have a lot of strength and we have a lot of fragility. Things were so good right before the pandemic, right? But the pandemic kind of set us back more than other cities. And to have that scandal on top of it, right at that moment, right when we were seeing an unprecedented crime wave, right when we were seeing this struggle to recover from COVID. And I read that indictment. It was eye-popping. It's pretty clear that evidence that they write about in the indictment, it does not leave a lot of questions about what happened. So I am hopeful that Oakland is going to move away from that really unfortunate chapter. I know, like in the charter change conversation, people bring it up as if it's the normal. It is not the normal. And we are going to move on. Barbara Lee is a great antidote to that moment. Talk about someone who inspires kind of trust and feelings of goodwill. So it's going to be interesting. I know you've been following what's happening in San Leandro. It doesn't surprise me that this is wider spread. And another thing that's really sad about it is, West Oakland has been working to move that recycling plant out of the neighborhood. And the fact that that deal has fallen apart is really a tragedy for the people of West Oakland.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Libby Schaaf, the former mayor of Oakland, and now she's a candidate for state treasurer in California. Should we call in Libby? The other Libby? Libby, you want a treat? Libby? Oh, she's right here. She's right here, Libby. Libby's here.
Oh, hi, Libby.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe to the East Bay Insiders newsletter so Libby can eat good food with your subscription at East Bay Insiders.
That Libby. My food is fine.
Libby, this Libby. This Libby right here. Libby number 2.
But do subscribe because you are covering local news in a way no one else is. And boy, are we seeing democracy needs it right now.
I know. Thank you. That drives me every day just to think that way. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. But thank you for helping that get out more by coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Libby Schaaf.
All right. You take care, Stephen.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Libby.